Hi, welcome to Staxpeditions on Tour. Our crew from Iowa is here in Las Vegas for the American Library Association conference, so we stopped by Bauman Rare Books to say hello to Rebecca Romney.
Hello.
Here we go. When people talk about old books or they talk about documents, they talk about dust and they talk about crumbling pages. But it's so interesting that the further back you go, the stronger they are, and they can handle it.
Yeah, people find it fascinating that you can have a book from 1880 that's going to look much worse than a book from 1580.
Yes.
But then again, I mean, even before the industrial age, this is actually a good example of a book. These types of things, this is Julius Caesar. This is a 1691 quarto, called quarto because of the format, but has since become kind of colloquially the word for individual printing of a single Shakespeare play. And what you have here, these things were essentially the equivalent of ephemera. They were a type of ephemera for the time. They weren't really meant for fancy libraries. There's actually a very famous quote by Thomas Bodley saying he didn't want playbooks in his library because that was kind of like riffraff. I can't remember the word he used, but it was something very, very derogatory. No, you have to have these really nice, fancy works, not plays, which were at the time sort of the equivalent of what we would say a popular TV show or a movie or something like that. And so these weren't really meant to be anything big and fancy, and it's really fascinating to look through. There's the TV there.
Duperté.
That's
so great. Caesar.
It's funny, you have things like marginalia can be frowned upon, right, when writing in your books. But in fact, a lot of the time, these days we're finding that people are very eager to see marginalia because there's so much that you can learn from that. The provenance of books, the history, and how they have had this winding path down today to 2014 in Las Vegas. How did this Shakespeare quarto end up in Las Vegas in 2014? It's fascinating, and oftentimes books are only handed very quietly from person to person over the years, and there's not necessarily as easily traceable provenance. So anytime you have marginalia, you're just saying, oh, there's a hint into this book's life.
Well, and one of the things I love is when you can see, it's actually a really emotional connection when you can read this marginalia along with the text and see that this person, this reader, sometime in the past was in exactly the same position that I'm in. You know, and they were sitting here just like this, and this is what they thought, and this is what they saw. I mean, that's the resonance of that kind of historic record. And then, but that always turns right back on this reader right now, and just like me. And also, just like me, I will also someday be gone.
Right. Well, it helps us sort of remember our history, too, in that way, because here you are, you're in the 21st century, and you think, what relevance did someone in the 18th century have to me? And then you read some of their notes and you realize people are people, right? No matter what time you're in, no matter where they are. And, you know, we're all just one big family. And we don't want to forget that. If we forget that, that's when, you know, the bad parts of history start repeating itself. So
this is the paradox that, speaking of marginalia, that comes with working in special collections is, you know, with the circulating collection, we tell people don't write in these books.
Right.
200 years from now, we're going to be so happy to have any copy of one of those books that had been marked up by half a dozen different students. So we say don't mark in those books, but I'm secretly in pencil. In pencil.